The head of the Metropolitan Police has called on the climate change protesters to go home or go to the designated protest spots and leave other areas of central London. Demonstrators have occupied Oxford Circus, Waterloo Bridge and Parliament Square since last Monday. Well, police say they've arrested more than 750 people over the past week and had to draft in an extra 200 extra officers to help deal with the protesters. Well, Simon Jones has been in Oxford Circus this afternoon for us in central London. Simon.
Well, this is a scene we haven't seen much of over the past 6 days. Oxford Circus has now reopened. The climate protesters have been moved on by the police. Now, the police presence remains here, but in vastly reduced numbers. But it's been quite an operation for officers during the day. This morning, we saw a big circle of police officers surround the protesters who were remaining there at that crossroads. There were around 40 protesters who didn't want to move. They were lying down on the ground. They said they didn't want to go anywhere. They tied themselves together. At that point, the police moved in. They used cutting equipment to separate the protesters. Then one by one, each protester was carried away out of that area. There was great applause for the protesters from other climate change supporters who were around here, giving support to those who were inside the circle. Now, for the police, it has been a very complex operation, and although this area has been cleared, two other areas where protests have been declared unlawful are still being occupied by protesters. And the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Cressida Dick, admitted the past 6 days had been a big challenge.
It is a challenging week. It's the Easter weekend now, as you know. It's a hot weekend. There's a lot going on in London, right across London. And every day we've had over 1,000 officers. In fact, I think it's probably now over 1,500 officers working to police these protests. It's had an impact not just on the police, obviously, but on Londoners in general. Lots of people have had miserable disruption to their lives. And I've got one message for the protesters, and that is, please go to Marble Arch, where you can protest lawfully. Stop your unlawful protest, and if you don't want to go to Marble Arch, then go home.
How much sympathy do you have for businesses in the West End who, by the end of all of this, will have lost tens of millions of pounds in revenue?
I think all Londoners will have sympathy for those businesses. Some will be able to cope with the losses better than others, no doubt, but it is clear that by stopping, for example, Oxford Circus and stopping the through route up from Waterloo Bridge, it's affecting business in all kinds of ways, and people are losing money. It's also affecting people who want to get about London, whether that's for work or tourist reasons. It's affecting everybody in the area of the West End. And I've been walking about there today. I can assure you that many people are very fed up. They're coming up to me saying, you know, these protesters don't realise the impact they're having on people like me.
Well, there have been a number of arrests here this afternoon at Oxford Circus from the people who were refusing to move and who were carried off by the police. But a number of other protesters marched down from here heading towards Marble Arch, where there is a designated protest point. But I think the police presence will remain here this evening, because it has been over the past few days a bit of a cat and mouse game. People have been arrested, they've been taken away and then simply returned. So the police will want to ensure that another protest is not allowed to establish here at this busy area.
Simon Jones, thank you very much for that. Now, 7 people